Hello everyone, we will now see our next tutorial, that is creation of surface mesh type attribute. So with this attribute, one can create a surface mesh or a 2D mesh with either triangular type or quadrilateral type. So let's see how one can create that attribute. So you can see on my screen, this is the model which we'll be using in this tutorial. So it has a solid plate part, so this part, and shell plate is highlighted with the red color. So you can see some portion of the shell plate is overlying on the solid part, whereas some portion is just hanging outside your solid part. So what we want is we want to have a surface mesh for this shell part. So basically what we will be doing is we'll have a chord dominant mesh here, the part which is hanging outside the solid part, and we will have a triangular mesh here where your shell plate is overlying on the solid part. So you can notice that we have done the tagging. So for shell plate, we added a shell class, and for solid plate, we have added a solid class. So this is all from the CAD modeling point of view. Let's now see some details about abstract model file. You can see here on my screen, I have opened the abstract model file, and now we will see how to create a surface mesh type attribute. So for that, I'll just select this shell class, that is 2D class. Then in the meshing tab, I'll click on create. Then I'll go to surface mesh type. So here under surface mesh type, I'll just select chord dominant because I want the mesh for my shell part to be a quadrilateral one. So I'll just give a name like surface mesh type chord, and I'll just click on apply and close. So you can see here, this way we have created our surface mesh type attribute. Now, as I said earlier, we want a chord dominant mesh for a shell part which is hanging outside your solid part. But we want a triangular mesh for the shell part which is overlying on the solid part. So for that, we need to define one more surface mesh type attribute, and for that we will use a relation between shell and solid. So I'll quickly create that relation, that is relation between shell and solid. So all of you know how to create that. Go in the class relation, create, and I'll just click on with classes for Ri. So you can see here this Ri relation between shell and solid is created. Now I'll just use a closure entity, maybe prune 2D of Ri shell solid, and I'll again create a surface mesh type attribute on this closure entity. Now this time I'll just set surface mesh type as triangular because the portion of the shell part which is overlying on the solid, I want triangular mesh there. Maybe I can just put name here as trial. Also, I will give some higher precedence because otherwise these two attributes will go on the same geometrical entity and will get a conflict. So to avoid that, I will just add the precedence and I'll then click on apply and close. So this way we have created our another surface mesh type attribute. Let's now create a simulation model and mesh, and we will see how exactly the mesh looks like for this solid and shell part. So all of you know that for creating simulation model, one need to click on this icon. After that, it will ask for the CAD model which is to be linked. I'll just select my assembly, and this way my simulation model will get created. So you can see here on my screen, simulation model is now ready. Let's now create the mesh. So for that, I'll just click on this icon, and you can see a mesh is created for this assembly. Now you can observe this hanging portion of shell part. We have a chord dominant mesh, whereas if we see here the portion of the shell part which is overlying on the solid part, we are having a triangular mesh. So this way one can make use of surface mesh type attribute and can create either a chord dominant or a triangular surface mesh. Now, the main question would be why we created a triangular element for the portion of shell part which is overlying on the solid part. So in CAENexus, for solid part or for regions of the volumes, we supported tetrahedral element. And whenever such kind of cases comes, that is your shell part is overlying on your solid part, then we need to create a triangular element because that will make sure that the correct tetrahedral element will get generated for the underlying solid. So that's all about this tutorial. I hope you guys have understood how to create a surface mesh type attribute. If you still have any question or queries, then you can contact at support@novusnexus.com and we'll get back to you accordingly. We will now meet in the next tutorial. Till then, have a good day. Bye.